8:05 here on the great WRKO and now on 93.7 HD2, hour 3 of the Kuhner Report, 617-266-6868. You can text us, as always, 680-680. Okay. This story, what is happening now on the border, is now becoming an unmitigated national crisis and disaster. And it's now becoming very quickly not just a crisis, but a scandal and another cover-up involving the Obama regime. And this one, I got to tell you, I'm sorry, my friends, I'm going on vacation, as many of you know. Today's my last day for about 10 days. Tomorrow I'll be off, 4th of July, and next week. So I don't want to ruin everybody's 4th of July vacation plans. But I need to make all of you aware of this. I want to give a big hat tip to Todd Starnes, investigative reporter at FoxNews.com. He is the one who just broke this story. There is now not just an immigration crisis, but a very serious health crisis that is being imported into this country through the southern border. And the government knows about it, and they're systematically covering it up. And in fact, they're threatening doctors and nurses that work at these detention refugee camps that if they tell the media anything, they will be arrested. So here is now what's going on. According now to Todd Starnes at FoxNews.com, he interviewed multiple sources, doctors, nurses at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. It is a refugee camp whereby many of these unaccompanied minors from Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, as they're now pouring into the United States, they are being processed at the border, and then they're being taken to these refugee camps, whereby they're being held, they're being detained, they're given food, health care, shelter, until they're eventually given a bus ticket or a plane ticket or whatever to be reunited with other illegal immigrants who are family relatives. Apparently now, workers at this refugee camp are now speaking out. It is full of children. It is full of women. What they are now documenting is something, I'm really choosing my words very carefully, and trust me, in about 90 seconds you'll see why. This is now becoming a camp like in Nazi Germany. It is being run by a government-contracted security force overseen by Health and Human Services. I kid you not, this security force under HHS, you can check it out in the piece, they refer to themselves as, quote, the brown shirts, unquote, in which they are running the place, insisting that the rights of these illegal alien children and minors, teenagers, gangbangers, many of them, supersede those of the doctors and nurses. And they're being told by these so-called brown shirts that if they document, if they tell the media or anybody outside the camp what they are really seeing in terms of the horrors and the illnesses being brought into the United States, that they will be silenced, they will be fired, and they will be arrested. And so now many of these several camp workers have broken their confidentiality agreements, because what they've seen, they say, is such a threat to public health and safety in the United States, they now want to share exclusive details to let America know what is really going on in these refugee camps, because the Obama regime is now desperately trying to keep it silent. They want to cover it up. Remember, this administration said this was going to be the most transparent administration in American history? They're the most non-transparent, the most opaque administration in American history. But let that go. So, they have not revealed their identities because they know they're going to face retaliation and prosecution by these so-called brown shirts. Here is what one psychiatric counselor told FoxNews.com, Todd Starnes, quote, "There were several of us who wanted to talk about the camps, but the agents made it clear," these are the so-called brown shirts, "we would be arrested. We were under orders not to say anything. This security force that goes by the name of Brown Shirts is from the Baptist Family and Children's Services, which is run by the Department of Health and Human Services. They've been hired to run the Lackland camp. According to the counselor, quote, "It was a very submissive atmosphere. Once you stepped onto the grounds, you abided by their laws, the brown shirt laws." The counselor then went on to describe that the doctors and nurses, the workers at these refugee camps, this is in San Antonio, were stripped of their cell phones and other communication devices. Anyone caught with a phone was immediately fired. Quote, "Everyone was paranoid. The children had more rights than the workers," unquote. Now, here is the part that is really, really frightening. According now to multiple nurses and doctors at the Lackland Air Force Base refugee camp. By the way, these are the same immigrants they're bringing into Massachusetts. These are the plane loads and bus loads of so-called children they're dumping here in Mass, in Chelsea, all over the greater Boston area, and up into New Hampshire. Quote, this is what a nurse said. She said that when she met these kids, when she saw them and started to treat them, she was, quote, horrified. It was something out of a horror movie. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. Quote, "We have so many kids coming in that there was no way to control all of this sickness. All of this stuff is coming into the country. We were very concerned at one point about strep going around the base." But the nurse said, along with the counselor, that their superiors are now trying to cover up the extent of the illnesses, that HHS and the Obama regime do not want you, the American people, to know how dangerous and deadly some of these illnesses are, and that they're contagious. Quote, "When they found out the kids had scabies, the charge nurse was adamant. Quote, don't mention that. Don't say scabies," the nurse recounted. But everybody knew they had scabies. Some of the workers were very concerned about touching things and picking things up. They asked if they should be concerned, but they were told, don't worry about it. Another nurse said that now the lice is now epidemic. That many of these kids and these mothers are literally riddled with lice. But that you can't talk about it. It has to be kept hush-hush. You could see the bugs and lice crawling through their hair. After we would rinse out their hair, the sink would be loaded with black bugs. According to the nurses and doctors, they have found so many bugs, so much lice on these children, they can't believe it. It is pouring out of them. What they have now seen so far is this: diseases that we have not seen in the United States for years, for decades. That in fact some doctors, because we haven't seen it for so long, aren't even trained to be able to detect them. Chickenpox, tuberculosis, swine flu, scabies. And what's even more concerning is now the doctors and nurses have now said that many of these children that were transported to the Lackland Air Force Base, the refugee camp, were transported on domestic charter buses and airplanes. In other words, they have all this lice, all of these infectious diseases, and they're putting them on Greyhound buses and on chartered domestic flights before they were even getting treated. The nurses are saying, do you have any idea this could start spreading to the general American population? If they're in buses and planes, people sit on those buses and planes, there's going to be lice and bugs everywhere. They carry diseases, they carry illnesses. Quote, when she talked about having them, the children having been transported to the refugee camp on domestic charter buses and airplanes, quote, "That's what alerted me," she said. "Oh my God, they're flying these kids around. Nobody knows that these children have scabies. They have lice. To tell you the truth, there's no way to control it." The psychiatric counselor said, told FoxNews.com, Todd Starnes, the reporter, the refugee camp resembled a giant emergency room, off limits to the public. Furthermore, they're noticing that many of these teenagers coming in have serious psychological, emotional issues. From many of them, they're saying they need a serious psychiatrist. Many of them are psychotic. Many of them are violent. Many of them are suicidal. And instead of giving them any kind of treatment, they're just giving them a bus ticket after a couple of weeks and sending them off to their relatives God knows where. In Boston, in Seattle, in Chicago, you name it, they're just sending them off. If they blow up and start killing people there, that's their problem. This is a national travesty and a tragedy. This is an invasion. And you have the former Speaker of the House, the House Minority Leader, the leader of the Democrats in the House of Representatives, go all the way down to the border and openly welcome these people who are coming into our country, trampling our laws, bringing in contagious diseases. Now we know many of them have ties to the Mexican drug cartels. Many of them, in fact, are violent gang members and gangbangers. And now, all of a sudden, now they're the children of God. According to Obama, he recently gave a speech, I swear to you, he said every single one of these migrants now being dumped across the border, quote, love America, unquote, that they love America. How the hell do you know if they love America, dear leader? What are you, God now? You can see into everybody's hearts, everybody's motives, everybody's mind? So tell me, the gangbangers that we've already known, the ones that are flipping us the bird on pictures with their gang tattoos, you think they love America? You think all these kids with the lice and the scabies and the tuberculosis and the swine flu, you think they love America? You think this is good for America? And you're deliberately covering it up? And now we find out that those kids, before they were treated, when they were covered in lice, covered in bugs, infected with these dangerous diseases, you put them on chartered planes and chartered buses? These doctors are like, oh my God, you can't control this. And then other people get on those buses and planes, and before you know it, they're going to get sick. Now, here's what's coming down the pike. Border Patrol agents are now saying that they are so overwhelmed and they're stunned at so many of these diseases being brought in. Now the next big fear is the Ebola virus. That's the stuff they get in Africa. That's the stuff, it's like a horror movie when you get it. That's almost like being fried alive. That's what they're bringing into the United States. This is compassion. This is transparency. This is putting the national interest first. And instead of standing there, and what is the obvious conclusion? Build that freaking wall. Close off that border. It's not a question of being hostile to the children or being nasty to the children. It's about protecting our own people. It's about protecting our own children. So now I got to worry about all these children being dumped here into Massachusetts, whether my Ava is going to get scabies or swine flu, or whether my Ashton is going to get tuberculosis or, God forbid, the Ebola virus. And the worst of it is, now they have security people working for HHS who call themselves, God is my witness, the brown shirts. And you're telling these nurses and doctors, if you open your mouth about how bad the situation is in this refugee camp and all of these camps that they're now establishing in Oklahoma, in Texas, in New Mexico, in Arizona, you're going to be fired and you're going to be prosecuted? Texas Congressman Louis Gohmert, who has to deal with the situation on the border from his constituents almost every day, says we are now becoming a third world nation. We are importing illegal third world immigrants, but we are now abandoning the rule of law. If we are not a nation of laws, then what are we? And if our own president will not enforce the rule of law and do his constitutionally mandated obligation and responsibility, which is to enforce the borders of this country, then he's betrayed his fundamental trust with the American people. My good friend, or at least he was my good friend. I haven't spoken to him in a while, but we used to play chess together. Let's just say Charles Krautheimer, okay, my former acquaintance friend, made a very good point. And it's a point that I've been making now for a long time. Good fences make good neighbors. Why do you think there's a fence around the White House? Why is there a fence around the White House? So nobody can come into the White House. Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry, or in this case, Juan, Miguel, and Alessandro. Not everybody can just come into the White House. It's why we have fences between our neighbors. To protect our privacy, to protect our dignity, to protect what is ours. It's why countries have borders. And every country in the world, outside of, I swear to you, Somalia and Yemen, failed nation states who can't protect their borders, protect their borders. The only country that doesn't, outside of Somalia and Yemen, is the dumb gringo. Is us. But I'm the extremist. When I say let's do what the entire world is doing, secure our borders, protect our people, protect our children from diseases, from gangbangers, from illnesses, from people who are stealing jobs from Americans and legal immigrants who respect our laws. Oh, he's a right-wing. Oh, my God, look at he's a right-wing crazy. Oh, my God. I had a great conversation with Bill Cooksey yesterday.
You always have great conversations.
I always. That goes without saying, but it was an exceptionally good conversation.
I get to teach you so much.
He does. He really educates me so much. And on this one, I don't think you made a Croatian joke. I think this was the only conversation you didn't, but let
Well, it was understood.
It was understood. Okay, he was talking to a primitive Slav. He was talking to a peasant. He was talking to a primitive peasant, and he was educating this primitive peasant whose parents came from Eastern Europe. And he made a very good point. He said, Jeff, honestly, he's just throwing it out there as a suggestion. Maybe the conservatives and the Republicans have the wrong strategy here. Instead of standing for principle over and over again and saying, build the border, secure the border, build the wall, defend the rule of law, give Obama what he wants. Just say to the dear leader, you want amnesty? You got it. And you bring in all these people and you send them to every community across the country. Every single one. You send them into every small town. You send them into every city. You send them into every village. You send them up in New England. You send them everywhere. You send them to Cambridge. You send them to Wellesley. You send them to Weston. You send them to Brookline. You send them to Newton. Except you have one caveat. Just one. Just one. They want driver's licenses? You got it. They want work permits? You got it. They want a green card? You got it. They want Obamacare? You got it. They want welfare? You got it. I'm giving you everything. I'll tell you what. I'll even give you official bilingualism. How's that? One thing. Pass a voter ID law. Just say they can have everything, but just don't vote. For 20 years. For 20 years, you come into this country, you get everything. But just, you can't vote. For 20 years. He won't take the deal. He'll be exposed as a complete fraud. He will not take the deal. Because we know why he's bringing them in. because those are the shock troops for his socialist revolution. They're going to be so grateful that he allowed them into this country. He knows they will vote for him and the Democrats ad infinitum forever.
I would have a caveat to my little plan as well, Jeff.
Go ahead, shoot.
If I was Speaker Cooksey, I would appropriate $1 billion to build projects for all the illegals coming in. But those projects have to be located in Marblehead, Swampscott, Bel Air, Beverly Hills, and just about everywhere a Democrat in Congress lives.
Oh, yeah, no, Wellesley, Brookline.
You want them, you got them.
Public housing. No, we agree. And you have to, we want redistribution of wealth. It's like busing. No, why should only rich people live in rich enclaves? No, we want to make sure you get to know the poor people as well.
Compassion.
Yeah, because we have to be compassionate and tolerant and have respect for diversity.
I told you the story out of Lynn, but the superintendent, they're all freaking out now because of an influx of immigrants, and they have to educate them. And we have no space in our schools. We have no money in the budget. What's happening? Where are we going to get this money? And I think, wait, your union's the one that endorsed all of this. You should be so thrilled by all of this. Oh, everything we said was right. Oh, but I'm the racist. I'm the extremist.
You guys voted for Obama. And when I told you, when I warned you, it's going to bust your budget. It's going to have overflowing classrooms. You're going to see teachers. You're going to be having 40, 50, 60 kids. You're going to be spending your time teaching remedial English. Oh, you're a racist, Jeff. You're a racist. Okay, now they're complaining. So Cooksey's point was this. They think by bringing in all of this army of illegals that they're going to create a permanent Democratic majority. But what's really going to happen is this. If we make every liberal city and enclave bear the full impact of illegal immigration, you know what's going to happen? It's going to boomerang against them. It's going to be jiu-jitsu. Because all of these white, hoity-toity, cocktail limousine liberals, and I'll bet you right now, Cambridge and Wellesley are going to be leading the way, are going to say, oh my God, not in our neighborhood. Oh, no, these contagious diseases, not for my kids. No, I don't want these public housing projects. No, we don't want our kids going into schools with them. No. But then it'll be too late. And then I'll say, I told you so. And you know what's going to happen? All of these white liberals are instantly, like this, the snap of a finger, going to become born-again conservatives and born-again Republicans. And so maybe, I'm just thinking out loud, let's give the dear leader what he wants. Be careful what you ask for. You just may get it. 617-266-6868. Comrade Juan, how you are, comrade?
Hanging in there, Jeff. You're looking at your midterm constitutional crisis, so you're not only here to vote, but you're here to spread the diseases. This is biological warfare created by your president. I warned people about this kind of stuff the year before he got in. Oh, you're nuts. You have a tinfoil hat. Well, here it is. Now, Jeff, there's not much we can do about it right now because they're here. I'm telling you, you got to do a show on telling people how to get ready because you're going to be staying in your home, kid, whether you want to or not.
Comrade, I may be staying at your home.
Get to the woods, Jeff.
Or with Cooksey, I may head to the woods. 617-266-6868. Dave, Frank, Mike, Greg, Roy, Jennifer, Mike, hang on. 8:30 on the great WRKO. All of your calls next. 8:37 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. So, with all of these diseases now being brought in, with these so-called unaccompanied minors, yesterday the people finally said enough is enough. And so 3 buses carrying these illegal migrant families, they were caught, by the way, illegally crossing the border with the Mexican border in Texas. They were then transferred to Marietta City, which is just north of San Diego. And there were 3 buses full, about 140 immigrant detainees. It's overflowing in Texas, so they say, hey, let's ship them off to San Diego, or just north of San Diego in Marietta. And there they were met by protesters who said enough is enough. They were shouting, "Go home." They were chanting USA. They basically confronted the buses, cut them off, and eventually the buses had to turn back and go to another detention center. And so here are the do we have a clip of the protesters, Cooks? Okay, here is the mayor, Alan Long, who's basically saying, we don't want him in our town. Our citizens don't want him in our town. We've been telling this to Obama. Send him wherever you want to send him, but don't send him to Marietta. Roll it, Cooks.
Why'd you want to stop the bus?
Well, the residents stopped the bus. We were back in the office keeping track of our action plan, making sure we had contingencies in place. This was a passionate community that cares deeply about what happens in their community, and they're exercising their constitutional rights. And we had police officers out there to make sure everyone was safe, including those who come through Marietta.
It's very clear, Mr. Mayor, looking at these images, the people who showed up at least are squarely against the federal government's plan to integrate, hundreds, perhaps a week, illegals into your town. There has not been a clear communication between the federal government and your folks there in Marietta on what they plan to do with those people, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Locally, the local Border Patrol office has been great. They have passed on information as they got it, but that's in a very short period of time. From the Homeland Security Agency to Marietta, there's been little to no communication at all.
God bless him. At least somebody's saying no. At least somebody's saying get out. At least somebody's saying illegals go home. Now, they want to do this in community after community after community. They want to bring this all across the United States? Here, I got a text right now. The Ebola virus has a mortality rate of up to 90%, between 60 to 90%. If it does come here, a person from the religion of peace could bring it in. This is almost biological warfare. Is this what we want in the United States of America? And the dear leader and the Obama administration and the liberal media are deliberately covering this up? We have a traitor, and he's in the White House. Mike, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Yeah, Jeff. Hello.
Hey, Mike, you're on the air.
Yeah, this excuse, the first black president, I'm a little wary of that excuse. It's time to grab this guy with handcuffs and lead him out. He's doing nothing for the black community in America, by the way. I would just like to say, John said this a year ago. I remember his specific comment. It's going to be a long, hot summer. And he was right. And just one other thing, Jeff. As far as this is no better than the Palestinian child wrapped around, with dynamite wrapped around his chest and walking into a Jerusalem daycare center and igniting it and blowing up and killing people.
I mean, if this starts spreading, we got ourselves a huge healthcare. We have ourselves an epidemic. We have a healthcare crisis, a real one, a public health crisis. Steve, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on WRKO. Go ahead, Steve.
Good morning, Jeff. I've been a nurse for about 15 years, and the first 10 years of my career, I had never seen anyone with tuberculosis. Within the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years, I've seen people come to this country, at least 17 cases of active TB.
Steve, are they mostly from, third world countries?
Oh, they're not from England. I'll tell you that. They're not from England. They're not from Canada. Most of them are from the Far East.
Really? They're from the Far East?
Yeah, like Cambodia and Vietnam and some Hispanic countries.
Now, Steve, what do you make now of all of these sort of migrants now pouring in now across the southern border?
Well, I think it's a joke because they try to make the excuse they're trying to get away from gang violence. I mean, how many people were killed yesterday in Chicago because of gang violence?
That's a very good point, Steve. 617-266-6868. So now they're also coming in now from Cambodia. So now we're getting tuberculosis not only from Central America, now they're coming in from Cambodia. Cooksy's in my ear saying from Croatia. You see what I got to put up with all the time? Roy, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, Jeff, I've been saying this for a long time. You stole my thunder. They want an Ebola epidemic here. They've already had people coming in from West Africa. You can bet the virus is already here. And they're going to keep it quiet for two reasons. Number one, they don't want to have a panic. Number two, they want it to spread. And once that stuff spreads, the only way to combat it, people must not mingle with each other, which means that they're going to cancel the 2014 election, and if we don't have a pandemic by then, we'll be at World War canceling the election. Or if we do cancel the election, or if the election is held, he's already got his butt covered for 11 different reasons, which I already cited to you on a previous call about a month ago. So don't expect a normal 2014 election. And all I can say is, you people up there having those people come in, you can expect Ebola virus is already on there, and you better stop those buses from coming into your community, which they'll probably send in at midnight so nobody will know.
Thank you for that call, Roy. Well, yeah, I mean, actually, I saw that movie. Actually, it's Contagion, Cooks, but let that go. No, he said Contagion, but that's okay, Cooks.
No, I said that because your Croatian brain will translate it into...
So, yeah, if you've ever seen the movie Contagion, how a disease spreads... you should see it. I mean, it's kind of like it's actually a very fascinating movie. It's kind of like a docudrama, but it's very, very well done. And we're bringing all this in. We're asking for trouble. And especially, I'm not trying to frighten people, but you need to be aware what's going on. They've brought in at least 6 plane loads into Masson and New Hampshire that we know of. They're sending some off already to Chelsea. They're sending others off to Lynn. They're sending others off to Salem. Others are being shipped up north even to New Hampshire. Is that what we need? Tuberculosis? Smallpox? Scabies? That's what we... Lice? Bugs and everything. That's what we need. And God forbid the Ebola virus? Oh no, that's diversity. Diversity is our strength. It makes us tougher as a people to bring in all these illnesses. Shows the world how diverse we are, how tolerant we are. 617-266-6868. Dave, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Jeff, if people don't believe that there's complicity between the president and the establishment Republicans, they're crazy, because the establishment Republicans had full knowledge that this was going to occur, as did our government, way back in January. Now, there are actual records where the Mexican government has informed our government that these people were on the move. That's number one. Number two, satellite imagery evidences when large masses of people are migrating. And our military absolutely had eyes that this invasion was coming, and nothing was done. This is revenge, pure and simple. This is revenge from the establishment Republicans and the people that want open borders, because we dared to stand up to them and say no.
Dave, look, you're right. You're 110% right, but you don't even have to get in. You're right, but you don't have to get into satellite imagery. I don't want to go down that road again. Look at Mississippi. Anybody wants to talk to me about the ruling class and how it doesn't exist? Mississippi. Look how they stole the election from Chris McDaniel. How the liberal left colluded with the establishment Republicans. And everybody knows that Thad Cochran stole the election. And African Americans, liberal Democrat African Americans, helped him steal the election. And nobody says a word. Nobody says a word. Now, getting back to immigration. Here's what I honestly believe. And I'm going to get in trouble for it, but I'm going to tell you the truth. This is exactly what's happening. What Americans don't understand, and I believe this has been Obama's saving grace up until now. And in fact, to be honest with you, it was Cooksey. I don't know why I'm complimenting him today as he keeps insulting me, but let that go. It was Cooksey who was the one that really lit the light bulb in my head. He said one of the reasons why Obama's poll numbers have not fallen even more is because most Americans cannot even fathom that there would be a president who's so radical that he despises and hates his own country. They just don't believe it. They don't want to believe it. They keep thinking of him in his own way as a black Jimmy Carter, as a black Kennedy, as a black FDR, whatever. Maybe, okay, he's too liberal, he's too progressive, so he's like a black Al Gore. But deep down, he may be arrogant, he may be overreaching, he may be incompetent, but for God's sakes, he's not a traitor. For God's sakes, he's not a rabid America hater. He was brought up on the mother's milk of his father despising the West and despising America as colonial imperialist oppressors. That's what his stepfather taught him. That's what his grandparents taught him. That's what his mentor, Frank Marshall Davis, an avowed member of the Communist Party, that's who he was brought up on. When you're growing up, marinated, thinking, all of this poverty in my ancestral homeland of Kenya and across Africa and all of the Middle East and all of Asia and in Indonesia is because of America. The wars because of America. The poverty because of America. The oppression because of America. What is your logical response if you believe that? Tear America down. But more than that, exact revenge. Humiliate the infidel. Humiliate the gringo. Impoverish the gringo. Bankrupt the gringo. Destroy the gringo. Better yet, you want the ultimate revenge? Let the third world occupy America. You see the diseases they live with in Africa and Latin America and Asia and in the third world caused by you, the evil United States? Well, now you're going to get it here. He is doing this deliberately. It's been 6 years. America, for God's sakes, wake up. Greg, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hi. Before I talk about the diseases brought into the country, you just mentioned Frank Marshall Davis, and without a legitimate birth certificate, Joel Gilbert made the excellent point in a movie that it's more likely that Frank Marshall Davis is the biological father.
Greg, we don't want to get, I don't want to get sidetracked with that. I can just tell you this. Frank Marshall Davis was best friends with Obama's white grandfather. And Frank Marshall Davis came to the Obama's home 3 times a week. And Obama's grandfather, I want you to think about it, he was an intellectual communist. I'm not, say communist like a fellow traveler. No, a member of the Communist Party of the United States. And when Obama was 14, 15 years of age, he was tutored by Frank Marshall Davis. This is an open fact. How come we weren't told about this by the government media complex? How come it's Jeff Kuhner that has to tell you this? Could it be because they're all colluding? Tom, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Jeff Kuhner, 680 RKO. That's red, white, and blue dynamite, baby.
Thanks, Tom. What's on your mind, buddy?
Jeff, God bless you. Jeff, I want Jebby Bush, because he's going to perform an act of love, and I want that witch on wheels, Kirsten Powers, that juvenile, immature, uninformed, whatever she is on Fox, to get into refugee camps and take care of the massive problem that their policies that they support are going to bring upon this nation. Jeff, my wife is a school nurse. I confirm what the other nurse called and said. The head lice is all over. Scabies is a real bad one and very contagious. Okay, Jeff, this is liberalism is not only a mental disorder, it's dangerous and it's suicidal. Our only hope is the National Guard. We need a standoff, Jeff. We need the National Guard to save us because defense is going to take too long. I pray every day for this nation, Jeff, and we really need it. God bless you.
Tom, God bless you. Have a great 4th of July, my friend. Look, let me just say this. I was speaking with Grace last night, and let me be very candid with you. We were talking about Obama, everything that's been going on, and I'll be confessional. I said, she said, hey, how's the show going? And, because she listens a little bit, but she's got the kids. And I said, in all honesty, the last couple days, the show to me has been heavy. It's been a bit depressing. Because it's all depressing stories. It's one depressing story after another. And I said, my fear is, I don't know if the audience is just going to say, forget it, I'm just going to turn this radio off because I don't want to keep hearing about these depressing stories. And she said, listen, just keep speaking the truth, let the chips fall where they may. But then she said this. She said, look, Jeff, we're living in very, very depressing times. This country under the Obama regime, under the liberal elite ruling class, is committing suicide. And on this 4th of July, weekend that is now approaching, you know what this country needs? With all due respect to Tom, it's not the National Guard. It's Kuhner country. It's us. It's time now that we, middle America, the people who love this country, love this republic, the people who fight in our wars, pay our taxes, get up and raise our families and raise our kids, it's about time that we said enough is enough. We are the last best hope for this country. And what I'm urging all of you is don't give in to despair. Don't. Because the country, as we're being bombarded on all sides, is finally waking up. His poll numbers are at 40. By the end of this summer, with this debacle, it's going to be at 30. Nobody can stand this guy anymore. We must now defend our homeland and our republic. If not now, when? If not us, Kuhner country, who?
Jeff Kuhner, 6 to 10.
You are out there making the case.
On AM 680 and now on 93.7 HD2.
The work you're doing, is God's work. It is hard work.
Boston's talk station.
8:59 here on the great WRKO. This is from 781. Jeff, my sister is a teacher here on the North Shore. Teachers don't send notes to parents to inform them of lice anymore, to warn them of a student having it. Good God. Good God. Okay, my friends, just to prove to you that they knew this was coming. Cooks, read the story that you just found on the internet.
Well, back in January, the Department of Homeland Security put out a bid for proposals. They had a job opening. It was for escort services for unaccompanied alien children. They were expecting about 65,000 of them. They put this bid out to proposal back in January.
To basically, ship the kids around?
Well, basically, they were expecting an influx of about 65,000 children, and they needed people to be able to transport them to wherever it is. And my question is, how did you know back in January you were going to get 65,000 people?
Andrea, you're up next. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Jeff, can you believe this? Brown coats, the brazen gall of these people to call themselves brown coats. The one other thing, Jeff, is you were
Andrea, brown shirts.
Oh, brown shirts.
Which is literally straight from Hitler's Germany.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. They have no fear. But the other thing, Jeff, is you were talking about how Obama feels that it's America's fault that the whole world has these problems. It's the leaders it's not America. It's the leaders of those countries that steal the people's rights and steal their money. And he's doing to us what all those leaders have done to his beloved Africa.
Kenya is coming here. 617-266-6868. We're going to stay on this topic for another segment. And Israel is about to go to war against the Palestinians. All of that. Don't touch that dial.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
And you and I are here to tell them that's enough.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.
.907 here on the great WRKO and now on 93.7 HD2. Hour 4, the Kuhner Report, 617-266-6868. This is, the Kuhner man is going on vacation. In fact, right after the show, I'm not flying. I'm not taking a chartered bus, because with my luck, I'm going to end up with lice, scabies, God knows. Maybe even the Ebola virus. So I'm just sticking in my little car and minding my own business. I'll be out for the rest of this week and next week, taking 10 days off. Much needed vacation, believe me. We're going to continue a little bit into this segment from the last hour. For those of you that have just tuned in, there is a devastating report by Todd Starnes, FoxNews.com, where he goes to the Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. It is a refugee camp, where he interviews doctors and nurses, camp workers who work at that refugee camp. They are treating many of the unaccompanied minors that are being dumped across the border. This is where they're being processed, detained, fed, clothed, sheltered, and then eventually sent off all over the country to be with relatives, many of them illegal aliens, but let that go. They are now blowing the whistle on conditions at that refugee camp and other camps across Texas, Oklahoma, Arizona, and New Mexico. The doctors and nurses now say that they have been told explicitly by Health and Human Services, by the Obama administration, along with their security contractors, who I swear to you, God is my witness, refer to themselves as, quote, brown shirts, unquote. That was Hitler's private militia army in Nazi Germany, but let that go. And that these brown shirts, through the HHS, have told all of these doctors and nurses that if they in any way talk about the conditions in these camps and what they're really seeing, not only will they be fired, but they will be prosecuted and go to prison. And it is a house of horrors. Nurses, psychiatric counselors, doctors are basically now telling Todd Starnes and FoxNews.com that they are now seeing countless children with lice, with bugs crawling all over their hair, contagious diseases. They are now spotting tuberculosis. They are now spotting scabies. They're spotting chicken pox. Now, more cases of the swine flu have now been confirmed. And now even there's talk about the Ebola virus coming into the United States. To their shock and horror, many of these unaccompanied minors, crawling with lice, sick with scabies, carrying these contagious, deadly diseases, were put on domestic chartered buses and planes before they got any treatment as they were flown to the refugee camp. Meaning that they potentially are now exposing anybody else who take those buses or who fly on those planes. They are now warning of a massive contagion and epidemic, a health epidemic, a public health epidemic. They're saying this thing cannot be controlled. This is what the regime is now covering up. And this is good for the United States of America? Do you know how irresponsible this is? How criminal this is? And from a local perspective, and I know we have a big national audience, but forgive me, we just had 6 plane loads of those very same kind of kids being brought here in Boston and Mass and shipped up to New Hampshire. In fact, some of them are now going to Chelsea, and they're going to Lynn, and they're going to Lawrence, and they're going to Lowell. They're coming into our communities. This stuff could start spreading. And our own government is deliberately covering this up? This is why it is not racist, it is not nativist, it is not xenophobic, it is common sense. It is fork and knife patriotism. It is nationhood 101. You must secure your border and vet people who come into your country, or else you become overrun. And when you become overrun, criminals come in, drug dealers come in, terrorists come in, and yes, very sick people with deadly contagious diseases come in. It's not racism. It's patriotism. And so my question to you is this. Do you blame those protesters now in California who have now prevented 3 busloads of 140 migrants from being bussed in to the town of Marietta, where they are now saying, don't dump them in our town? And my prediction is you're going to be seeing these kinds of spontaneous protests all over the country. And so my question to the liberals is this, to all you moonbats out there. You think this is good? You think this is compassionate? You think this is tolerant and respect for diversity? Offer your town. You want to call in and defend this? Offer your town. I want to hear from you in Brookline. I want to hear from you in Weston. I want to hear from you in Wellesley. Call up and say, or Somerville. I'll tell you what, Somerville, you guys want him? We'll dump him in Somerville. Put your money or better yet, put your children's lives and health where your mouth is. 617-266-6868. Jennifer, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Jeff, I'm a visiting nurse. I visit the bowels of Lynn and Chelsea on a regular basis. Aside from the Ebola virus, all those things that you're talking about are rampant already. It's just a matter of time before they start bleeding into the richer towns. It's disgusting. Another thing, I go there, you know what I see? I see a Macy's bag and a Victoria's Secret bag, and then I see the Walgreens prescription bag that says 50-cent copay on it.
Oh, why? Because they're all either on what?
Of course, they already have it, and now I'm going to clean the scabies and the bed bugs off them.
So, Jennifer, really? So you've already seen scabies?
It's already here.
Oh, my God.
The bed bugs they're going through all the buildings. They're traveling into Revere, into Salem, into Saugus. It's just a matter of time before it's just a matter of time before they start traveling. It's going to affect everybody. You cannot control it. You cannot contain it. They're bed bugs. They're lice. They're scabies. The kids are getting them at school. The special education teacher that sends her kids to Catholic school, she had to take her out because she got bed bugs, and then her daughter got bed bugs. And they don't want anyone to know about the bed bugs. They're so hard to get rid of. They paid $10,000 to clean their house without 100% guarantee.
Jennifer, if you don't mind,
everywhere.
Jennifer, you're a nurse, correct?
Yes.
Jennifer, if you don't mind me asking, is this the native population that's getting these scabies and bed bugs and lice, or are these illegal immigrants?
95% is non-native, but now it's starting to spread
into the native population.
Yes. So it's just a matter of time before it hits Brookline and Marblehead with their illegal housekeepers bringing it in. It's going to happen.
No, you nailed it. Oh, and watch. Mark my words. It's going to take a few months, but Jennifer nailed it. When their illegal housekeepers and their illegal maids and their illegal nannies and their illegal landscapers, when they're doing the jobs that no other American seems to want to do, when they start bringing those diseases into their homes, come September or October, my friends, we're going to have the whole country in the palm of our hands. Frank, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Good morning, Doctor.
Hey, Frank.
I remember a segment on your show, probably 6 months ago, where if a child was discovered to have lice in school, that they couldn't send him home because you had to practice tolerance and compassion.
And respect for diversity.
Yes, and we had tuberculosis virtually wiped out in this country. It didn't even exist, and now it is back in full force. 4 or 5 years ago, there was an article in the paper, I won't mention the paper, but about a doctor that knew she was positive for tuberculosis, but continued to treat patients, continued to observe surgeries in 3 different hospitals. This is going to spread, as the previous caller said, the nurse, it's already spreading. I ran into it myself. I moved, actually, 2 years ago because of that situation. And
sorry, Frank, I don't want to get personal. If I'm too personal, please let me know. Where did you move from and where did you move to?
I moved from Brockton.
Okay.
And the house was bought by somebody in Boston, a welfare situation. They finagled it through the ninja loans there, where you could buy houses in those days without income, a job, or any assets. And I wasn't there but a month when the woman was, I heard her downstairs in the sink where we do our laundry, washing her kids' hair, and they were infested with lice. And I just said, that's it. I got up and I moved. But when you mentioned Ebola...
Now, Frank, hold on. What, did you move to the sticks? Did you move to, like, where I live?
No, I did not. I couldn't do that. But I got away from... Brockton is... I moved there in 1992. It wasn't that bad, but I can tell you right now, it is a ghetto. I hate to put down at any city, but it's just gone so bad. You don't want to even... I don't want to eat in a restaurant there, nothing.
Frank, Massachusetts is becoming a ghetto.
Yes, and it's...
the whole country's becoming a ghetto, Frank.
It's funny you mentioned San Diego, because I remember watching a documentary about 5 years ago where they said San Diego would become one of the biggest cities in the world. So evidently they had plans for this a while ago.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, it's going to be run... Pretty soon San Diego is going to be completely run over. It's going to be the Tijuana of the North. Give it about, 5 more years. Axel, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on WRKO. Go ahead, Axel.
Good morning. I just want to say I appreciate your show very much.
Oh, thank you, Axel.
Fortunately, I work with I'm a translator for the immigration courts and immigration cost enforcement.
Okay.
If you go to Burlington at the ICE office, you're going to see hundreds and hundreds of people coming in now with their kids. They just crossed the border. They were told if they come in and they just say, I'm here, there's ICE officers are going to let them in, and what they're given, because they have kids, they're put under order of supervision and getting an employment authorization, getting a driver's license. People that doesn't know how to drive, they have TB, they have license, and they're using the system. I work with that every single day, and I'm getting scared. I'm totally scared to go there and see hundreds and hundreds of people every day, and the government, it's reward them for doing something wrong, crossing the border.
Axel, so just so I understand, so you work at an immigration office?
I do. I work as a translator, not for immigration, but for a big law firm.
Okay, and you deal with a lot of illegal immigrants then, correct?
Every day. They just want to take, and they want to buy their $300 Michael Kors or Coach pocketbook.
And so, Axel, so you're saying, so they're coming in, they're getting employment authorization, they get welfare, they get EBT cards, and you're seeing them, they got TB, they got lice, they got all these diseases, and nobody cares.
Yep. Go to the 10 New England Executive Park in Burlington in the morning. You're going to see hundreds of people there. I counted yesterday. Every family has 4 or 5 kids. Where did they get the idea that the kids are coming along? The kids are not coming along. They're coming with their parents. Or the parents are already here.
Well, that's what's happening, Axel. The parents or the uncle or the aunts are already here. So that's why they cross the border, and then the dumb gringo pays for the bus or the plane, and then gives them some money for food, and they reunite, and there you go. And we get the lice, the tuberculosis, we pay for the welfare, we pay for everything. That's the dumb gringo. That's how we work here. 617-266-6868. Jim, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Jeff, I've called your program before. You are a lifesaver.
Oh, thank you, Jim.
I'm a traveling nurse, and I have many friends that are school nurses. And I don't want to pick on any particular towns such as Quincy, Randolph, Brockton, Weymouth, Stoughton. I don't want to pick on those towns. But every year, there's hundreds of children that are showing up where it's like they fell off a cliff into the school, and nobody knows where they came from. They just show up, and we are obligated to educate them, and they have every disease. They don't have doctors' physicals coming into the school, but they still take them everywhere. Every nationality you can think of.
So, Jim, you're saying that so the other students are then exposed to all these potential diseases?
Absolutely. And it's starting at the public kindergartens, the self-help programs for kids. These programs, they have head lice. It's rampant with all the little children. and they're all bringing it home.
Jim, I got to ask you this, because I'm reading a couple media reports where they're saying a lot of these illegal immigrant kids are bringing in strep throat. They're bringing in strep. And I had it a couple months ago. Jim, I swear I thought I was on the verge of death. Oh, man, was that painful. Have you seen strep, Jim?
I see it all the time. But it's worse than that because we have a large immigrant population now that's in our nursing homes. They come in here and the families, these people don't have Social Security numbers. They come into nursing homes and families are paying cash. Where they get the money from, I don't know. And the system is allowing this in droves. And it's a money-driven thing. Always follow the money, and you've said that before. Follow the money, and you'll find out where.
Jim, but sorry, just to clarify it for me and the listeners, when you say they're paying cash, what do you mean they're paying cash?
Well, for instance, is ethnic nursing homes.
Okay.
And you look in the ethnic nursing homes and see which ethnicity, is that the word?
Yeah, ethnicity.
That they are. They're bringing their parents from the countries that.
Oh, I get it. Even though they don't have Social Security numbers, they put money under the table and their parents get taken care of.
That's right. But these are people, big businesses from other countries. The handicapped children in this country. That's like unbelievable. In the other countries, they bring their handicapped children here and just drop them off and then go back home. They say the stupid Americans will take care of them. I witnessed this twice.
You mean, so the handicapped kids, the kids in wheelchairs, they just bring them in and just dump them off and they go back?
Mentally retarded, they can walk and talk, but they don't understand a word of English. It's all through the system. People just turn their head away, and all these people come in, and it costs like $150,000 a year to take care of one special needs person, especially if they come from another country. Medical, day programs, transportation that they get for free.
So,
Jeff, you have no idea.
So, Jim, essentially what you're telling me is, as a nurse, we're a dumping ground. I mean, I don't mean to laugh, but you got to laugh because this is just going to pull your hair out. So you have a special needs person in the family. We don't want them, dump them. You got old parents. We don't want them, dump them. You've got kids. Just dump them. I mean, seriously, what are we? The Red Cross? I mean, what am I? What are we? A walking charity? Donna, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Oh, Jeff, the doctors and nurses being ordered by HHS not to disclose the disease or lose their job, this proves to me that he knows and this administration wants this to happen because any American president would contain it and protect us from an epidemic, but he's willing to expose us to it if he's keeping it from us. I think the doctors and nurses should quit because they're not only going to get the disease, they're going to spread it. And then when the president said he put out that order that tells them that they wouldn't be deported, but then he tells us that they will be deported, a lot of them are already gone. The kids and the people aren't going to show up for the hearings. And he knows that if they're from a non-contiguous, which is a non-touching country like the Guatemala, Nicaragua, and Honduras, they have to have a hearing. They can't automatically be deported. So he knows they can't. And then if they say they're from those countries, how do we know that? They're handed a booklet saying exactly what to say. They could just say that they're from those countries so that they won't be deported, instead of if they're from Mexico, they automatically will be. This is Cloward Pivens collapsing the system. Dissolve the border, redistribute the wealth. And then finally, you know how Obama wants the $2 billion more for this?
Yes.
Okay, they got to stop all the foreign aid, and they've got to stop the appropriations. Call Dave Camp, the chair of Ways and Means, and the chair of appropriations is Harold Rogers. Tell them, do not appropriate for this invasion. Stop the foreign aid. Use that money, as bad as it is. It's not helping those countries one bit. It hasn't fixed a thing. Stop that. Use that money. Do not give them $2 billion more. And then call Michael McCall from Homeland Security, and you say you secure our border now. This is an invasion, and we are going to be devastated with these diseases. And you have one heck of a good vacation. You deserve it.
Oh, thank you so much, Donna. See, I swear, I'm such a hypochondriac. All this talk of lice, I'm like scratching my head. All this talk of like scabies, I swear to you, I'm like, I don't know.
You don't have hair.
Well,
I mean, seriously, let's get a grip.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, I feel like this itchiness now all over my skin. I swear to God.
AM 680 on your radio dial, and now 93.7 HD2.
9:32 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, the voice of the resistance. 617-266-6868 is the number. Here's a great text from 508. I swear I'm not making this up. You're going to think, come on, Jeff, it's a spoof. No, I swear to you. Jeff, just called Elizabeth Warren's office, Chief Spreading Bull. Alexandria, who answered the phone, told me there are no illegals coming in. This is from 781. The text just came in right now. Jeff, where's Chief Spreading Bull? Liz Warren, now that we're being, quote, hammered. There's no illegals. What you're seeing on the pictures on the TV screen, that just is not real. That's part of the right-wing conspiracy. We're making all this up. 617-266-6868. Chief, we need these illegals to build that teepee for you. Okay, Chief? Mike, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hey, Jeff. The left is always screaming and yelling about the law of the land when it comes to the Affordable Care Act. But in 2006, the border fence passed through Congress and was signed into law to build a double-sided fence the entire length of the southern border. I don't understand why that's not being done, and that falls in everybody's lap up there. I'm obviously against what's going on, but I mean that's the number one issue. I mean, I think that would be a pretty big deterrent to start throwing down some fencing along the southern border. I think there's like 90-something miles that's been built. I mean, I'm not sure the exact length, but I mean we got to be close to a couple thousand miles along that southern border, right?
Mike, let me tell you what people from Arizona have told me. I'm almost giving it to you verbatim. They have miles of fence, for example, on Arizona, and then it just stops. And then there's just desert for miles.
Why can't we take that $2 billion that he's looking for and do that? Oh, I know why, because he doesn't want it. This is what this is all about. It's just about bringing. I heard somebody on the liberal media yesterday, Jeff, saying these are human beings. I mean, we're never going to get anywhere when people are thinking with their heart and not with their head. And unfortunately, that's the ultimate downfall of the left, is they don't think with their head, they think with their heart, and these are human beings. Let me tell you something about human beings, Jeff, and I'm going to tell your audience this. Tuberculosis is horrendous, and the worst part about tuberculosis is you can be infected with it and not even know you have it.
Really?
And you can infect everybody around you.
Mike, I mean,
tuberculosis is going... and there are certain strands, Jeff, that cannot be treated.
Really?
They can't treat it.
Mike, what are some of the symptoms of tuberculosis?
It's a cough, fever. I mean, typically people that can actively spread it.
Hold on, when you say cough, what do you mean? Like a scratchy throat kind of cough?
No, like you're going to have like a pretty heavy, substantial, like smoker's cough. And
okay.
And you're going to cough up blood. It's going to be pretty bad.
Cough up blood?
Yeah, but the thing is, though, Jeff, is you can have an active exposure without knowing that you have. Like, you can be coughing because, you think it's a seasonal thing. But if you've been exposed to tuberculosis, you're not going to know that much. You actually go get a chest x-ray. You do the PPD test on your arm. Like, these are big things that people probably aren't going to go do because we have $50,000 deductibles and our insurance rates go through the roof. So people are going to say, you know what? You take some cough syrup and stay home. It's no big deal. Meanwhile, your doctors, your nurses, the teachers, the paramedics that show up to treat you, everybody's getting exposed to it. Nobody knows until it's too late. So, happy 4th of July, everybody. Go wave your American flags. And people in Massachusetts, I'm sorry, but you guys deserve everything you get down there because you guys have lived and died by the left for the last however many years. So,
Mike, I agree with you, buddy. And thank you for that call. Look, you live by the left, you die by the left. And they wanted open borders, and my friends, we're getting open borders. 617-266-6868. Notice, though, they say they're human beings, but not in my neighborhood. George, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey, George.
Hi, love your show.
Thank you.
I was just thinking of a possible scenario for Obama staying in office. I think it was Lincoln that suspended the habeas corpus and declared martial law because of violence. Play this out for the next, whatever Obama's term is. I think a possible scenario, you're going to see so much violence between maybe reaction from middle America of these illegals being distributed. And, like they're saying, tons of them are gangbangers and very violent gangbangers that possible excuse for suspending habeas corpus and declaring martial law. And we have I think that would give Obama a reason to stay in office, wouldn't it?
Well, George, look, I got to tell you, when I first heard this scenario the first couple of years of the Obama presidency, I said, come on. You know, people are getting carried away. People are getting a bit paranoid. Now, after almost 6 years of this guy, look, think about it. Look at the chaos that he's sowing. Look at the pain and suffering that he's inflicting. Look at the damage that he's doing. It's honestly, I'm happy I'm going on vacation because I don't know what he's going to do next week. Honestly, I don't know what else this guy's going to do. And there's a certain point where you have to ask yourself, when you're inflicting this much damage, sowing this much chaos, causing this much upheaval, now we're bringing in people with swine flu and tuberculosis and scabies into the country. Maybe now even the Ebola virus. What the hell? What's next? Anthrax? No, really, just what the hell? If you're going to do biological warfare, just bring in the real thing. Here's anthrax. Dump it all over Boston and be done with it.
So, Jeff, I called Elizabeth Warren's office after that text message that we got.
Yes.
I asked to speak to Alexandria. She was unavailable at the moment. This is the Boston office. I told them that someone had called and asked for Elizabeth Warren's comment on the illegal immigrants flooding across the border. That Alexandria said there are no illegal immigrants coming in. She wasn't available for comment. And then I asked this guy I was talking to, is that the official stance from Elizabeth Warren, the senator, that there are no illegals coming in? To which he replied, I don't know. And I said, is there someone there that does know what her comment is on the illegal immigrants coming in? To which he replied, I don't know. Then I said, what is Alexandria's title? To which he paused for a second, thinking of something, and then said, assistant. To which I said, assistant what? Assistant to the assistant regional manager? What is she? To which he paused for a moment, and then assistant to the regional director. I said, okay, so I'm going to say that the official response from Elizabeth Warren's office is illegals are not coming in. Is that okay with you? To which he replied, I don't know. So as of right now, until we have clarification, Elizabeth Warren's official comment is there are no illegals coming into the country.
This is not happening. None of this is happening. And I swear to you, God is my witness. You have people on Fox News like Jonah Goldberg. You have moonbats at liberal magazines like the New Republic. You have the Boston Globe saying she's going to be the darling of the Democratic Party. She's going to beat Hillary. She's going to be the next president of the United States. Chief Spreading Bull, the first Native American Cherokee president. This is the woman. It's like, can you imagine her as president? I swear, can you imagine? What about that humanitarian crisis on the border? What are you talking about? There's nobody coming in. But look at the pictures. Look at all these kids. Look at the detention centers, the refugee camps. I don't see anything. Look at me. I'm an Indian. Look at my high cheekbones. I'm an Indian. If I'm an Indian, then I'm telling you there are no illegals coming in. Brenda, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
You're having a good time, Jeff, because you're getting ready to go on vacation and have a great vacation.
Oh, thanks, Brenda.
Have an absolutely great vacation.
Thank you.
On a serious note now, I don't know whether I'm repeating something that somebody's already said because I've been in and out listening to you. This has all been carefully choreographed and orchestrated by this administration so that there will be an event so that they can come in and increase government and act like the big savior of our nation, which they will not be able to do because it will be so out of control. This administration is so out of their league. I continue to say this. Let me pull that back. Sorry, I did not. Half the country voted for a community organizer from the south side of Chicago. No betting, nothing. We really don't know anything about this guy. But what we need to do, we all can talk a good game. What we need to do is to share the information that we've learned, and there's been some great information on this show today about what the hell is happening. And it is frightening. You know, I hate fear. I hate talking fear, because fear leaks. Nonetheless, with that said, we do need to share this with people. And yes, and some people don't want to do that because they don't want to have a confrontation with their family. They don't want to have a confrontation with their neighbors. We can do it in a non-combative way. And some people, maybe it might be more difficult. However, with that said, this is important to share. You know, we're all preaching to the choir here. We're all, talking a good game, and that's great. But this is some serious bleep, as they say.
Brenda, you nailed it. Oh, look, I got to say this because 4th of July is coming up. And I get this from people all the time. Jeff, what can I do? I listen to your show. I see what's happening to our country. What can I do? Okay, a couple of things. You can write letters. You can encourage people to listen to this show. You can vote, obviously. But there's one other thing you can do. Convince one other family member or friend of what's going on. Maybe it won't be in one conversation. It takes a couple conversations. But just, in other words, convert one. Not 2, not 3, not 4. Just convert one. So when November comes around, you vote, and the person you've just converted votes. And if all of you convert just one, we have an army. In other words, the truth shall set you free. Speak it. Sean, you're up next. Thanks for holding. You're on WRKO. Go ahead, Sean.
Hey, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Sean?
Pretty good. I just have it's about the immigration, but it's a little bit more off the wall. This is probably the best covert war on America that you could get. It's multi-stage, and it's a plan. They separate people. They breed hate for the country. They put us in different categories, whether you're gay, black, Hispanic, immigrant, or native. They establish dependency on the government, EBT, welfare, food stamps, health care. Then they import and deploy. They're deploying these immigrants. They're not bringing them in and putting them all around the country. They're deploying them. And at some point, this president, if not the next president, God forbid it be Liz Warren but what they can just say is, if you want it, go get it. And they're going to take it from the middle class. They're going to take it from the higher middle class, but they're going to take it. And that's about it.
Sean, look, what you've just described, almost to a T, is, for example, Venezuela under Chavez. What you've described is really what happens in third world countries when socialist dictators seize power. You grow, build your army, divide the country, divide and conquer, and then at the end, when the takers outnumber the makers, you say, take it. Take all of it.
Exactly. And I tell you, Jeff, I'm scared to death. Kids, wife, house, scared to death. But I'm more angry than scared. And that's probably what's putting me on the FBI watch list. But
let that go, Sean. But let that go. You're a dissident to the regime like me, Sean.
Yeah, right.
Thank you for that call. 617-266. Call again. That was a good call. 617-266-6868. You see, when it came to the dear leader, we knew nothing about Obama. With Chief Spreading Bull, she knows nothing. So we have either you know nothing about him or she knows nothing. That's basically our leadership in this country right now. 617-266-6868. I swear, this one's one for the ages. There are no illegals coming in. This one, I'm telling you, this is I think I heard it all, but today I really did hear it all. 617-266-6868. More with your calls, 946 on WRK.
Jeff Kuhner, now invading your
9:51 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. My friends, Israel is now on a serious war footing. For the last couple of weeks, the country has been obsessed with the kidnapping of 3 teenagers. They were seminarians who were studying in the West Bank. And they were hitchhiking back from their seminary, which apparently is very common. I didn't know Israelis would do that, even in the West Bank and the so-called occupied territories. But they were hitchhiking. They were captured by Hamas. Israel has been looking for them desperately. They have been sending Israeli troops going into town after town, village after village. All three of them have now been found dead and murdered. They were killed by human animals. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has now vowed Hamas is responsible and Hamas will pay. And so now they are pounding Gaza. They are hitting numerous targets through airstrikes. But Netanyahu is now saying that this is not going to end there. He wants to break the back of Hamas once and for all, because for the last couple of years, when the Palestinians have been able to run their own statelet, namely the Gaza Strip, they have turned it essentially into Gazastan. They have turned it into a terrorist safe haven. And Netanyahu is now saying he was going to defend Israelis. He is not going to allow the precedent of young Israeli teenagers. Really, I mean, they're 15, 16 years of age. I'm seeing pictures of them, salt of the earth, being allowed to be abducted and brutally slaughtered and killed. Hamas is now vowing that if Israel sends in the military into Gaza, quote, it will open the gates of hell, unquote. We are now staring at a possible Israeli-Palestinian showdown, a bloodbath, another war in the Middle East. And as Israel defends itself, as Israel defends its citizens from terrorist thugs like Hamas, what is the dear leader saying? Is he saying we stand with Israel? Is he saying that we stand with a fellow ally who's also facing and confronting a war on terror? No, 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 no. Immediately the dear leader got on the phone and told Netanyahu, hey, slow down, easy with the bombing, easy with the counteroffensive, easy. What I find incredible, have you heard him once denounce ISIS? Have you heard the president once tell the leaders of ISIS, hey, slow down, you're approaching Baghdad, easy now, easy? Has he once told the mullahs, hey, slow down, don't get that nuclear bomb that you want to annihilate the Jews with, whoa, slow down? Has he told the Taliban, hey, slow down? In fact, no, he just gave them their 5 top commanders. But when it comes to the Jews of Israel, when it comes to our closest ally in the Middle East, America's best friend in the region, doing what any sane nation, self-respecting nation would do, defend itself and exact punishment for the premeditated, systematic terrorist murder of 3 of their citizens, 3 of their own teenage boys. By the way, one of them has dual citizenship, is an Israeli and an American. There is the dear leader leaning on the Israelis, leaning on the Jews. And to all of my liberal Jewish friends out there who are now absolutely outraged at what took place in the killing of these 3 teenagers and now are shocked that rather than condemning it, Obama is in fact criticizing not Hamas, but Israel. What have I been telling you for the last 6 years? Finally now you realize that this man doesn't like Jews? Now you realize that he can't stand Israel? Now you realize that this man always sides with the Islamic world against Israel and against America and against the West? Israel shall fight and Israel shall be right. And if I was Benjamin Netanyahu, I would finally break the back of Hamas and Gaza. Do the world a favor, Bibi, and take out these terrorist thugs once and for all. 617-266-6868. Mike, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hello?
Hey, Mike, you're on the air.
Hey, I was going to ask about with the camps with the illegal aliens. What's going to happen in 9 months when they're dropping anchor babies?
Well, they're going to get, everyone's getting citizenship, Mike. It's an open, look, everybody knows they're here and they're going to stay. And they're going to continue to stay. And if they bring their parents are going to stay. And if they have children, they're going to stay. So everybody's staying. Until we, the American people, say enough is enough. Look, those protesters that you're seeing outside of San Diego and Murrieta, if there's more of that in town after town, city after city, the regime has a rebellion. So maybe this is the spark that's finally going to light this prairie rebellion, this populist prairie fire that is going to finally bring this regime down. Don, you're up next. Thanks for holding. Go ahead, Don.
Things going here, but I did want to correct one thing. People are talking about Mexicans being deported across the border. I want to emphasize they are not being deported. They're being sent back under something called voluntary departure.
Don, sorry, we ran out of time, but basically, yeah, and then they're going to come back in. No, I understand the game. My friends, I got to go. I'll be away on vacation the rest of this week, next week. To all of you, have a very happy, blessed 4th of July. And whatever you do, don't get sick.
Happy Croatian holiday to you. Oh, wait, is it Boxing Day in Canada?
Boxing Day is
I don't know what nationality you are. You conveniently pick and choose.
Well, July 1st, which passed, is technically Canada Day.
Okay.
But it's over. It passed.
Up top of the morning with the Molson Bear for you, whatever you guys say.
You've been listening to Boston's Bulldozer and my friends. Together, we're beating liberals one day at a time.
News at the top and bottom, talk in between.
Executing assigned host duties flawlessly because I can't do wrong.
This is AM 680 WRKO, Boston.